We told you last week we were bringing on a great returning guest, and that's exactly what we did. You're not going to want to miss this episode of the Sick Podcast Talking Titans. Sammy, start us up.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Talking Titans.
With the first pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Cameron Ward, quarterback, Miami.
The sickest Tennessee Titans podcast. Sick! It's gonna be sick.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Sick Podcast Talking Titans. With training camp around the corner, what's a better way to bring in a special guest, returning guest, to talk about Titans OTA and minicamp than former Tennessee Titan himself and returning guest, like I said, Mr. Kevin Dyson.
Hey, what's going on, bro?
What's going on? How are you?
Man, I can't complain, man.
I heard there was a birthday yesterday in store. I hope you had a great day. Happy birthday from the Sick team.
Appreciate it, man. 50 times around the sun, man. Still
That's it. A big 50. Wow.
Yeah, turn 50, bro.
Happy birthday, man. Again, I appreciate you coming on, taking the time out during the day. So let's get things started over here. As we move towards training camp, obviously, what has been the most impressive thing you've seen so far from rookie quarterback Cam Ward?
Oh, man. I think the biggest thing is his presence. And I know people are going to be like, what is that? And that doesn't seem like a big thing, but he just commands respect, commands the huddle, and guys are gravitating towards him. I think his confidence speaks for himself. He's out there. He doesn't feel like he's uncertain what he wants to do. He's not lacking in confidence, and there's an arrogance to him, but it's a humbled arrogance to him. And I think that's what I like about him. He's a guy who has that charisma and that confidence in his ability, but he doesn't do it in a such where you don't think he's going to work and grow. He still wants to get better every day. And that's just from the outside looking in. I think what you read from the coaching staff and things of that nature, it sounds like that's very similar to what he is. He gets in there, he watches film, he tries to learn, he's asking all the right questions, and he goes out there and he performs. And the other thing that I hadn't really seen a whole lot of or heard a lot of is him making the same mistakes twice. So that shows you from him, from that standpoint of maturation, that he's a guy who learns quickly, and he doesn't repeat mistakes. And I think that's going to help him grow as he gets along here.
Yeah, for me, like obviously from an outsider and as a fan and a guy that does podcasts about the Titans, you see his ability to retain plays, come in so confident. He goes from Wazoo to Miami and just totally changes the culture in Miami. Cristobal said the same thing, how he just comes in and demands respect, like you said. And like I remember Cristobal saying that, a Miami wide receiver was throwing with Lamar Jackson, and Cam Ward called him up. He goes, "What the hell are you doing?" He goes, "I'm down here in Miami. We're working." He goes, I'm just throwing with Lamar Jackson." He goes, "Lamar Jackson's not throwing you the ball. I'm throwing you the ball. Get your ass down here." And that's the kind of respect that I love about Cam Ward, that swagger, that humble swagger, like you said. And for him to talk smack as a rookie, he just oozes with confidence. And you have like Big Jeff, the alpha dog of the defense, and he's just jawing back and forth, helmet to helmet, face mask to face mask. Have you ever seen that in a locker room with a confident quarterback like that? I know you played with McNair, but as a rookie quarterback, I mean that has a lot to say to an offense and a defense for a locker room. No.
Yeah, I think so. But it was all in love. I think.
Oh yeah, of course.
Appreciated that. I think he liked the sense that you're going to battle with a guy that you feel like is going to find a way to win football games. He's not going to lack in talent, obviously, but he's not going to be scared out there. His confidence is always going to be there. And I think the similarities that I've made with him and McNair was, I think when the chips were down, say we're down a touchdown with a minute something to go, I felt like didn't matter what side of the ball you were on, what position you played, you felt like McNair was going to find a way to win that football game, or at least put you in position to win. And I think that is what Cam is instilling from his presence right now. Now, he has to play the game yet. You still got to let it play out. But I think that's kind of the same aura, the presence as he has. And that jawing back and forth with him and Big Jeff is just like, hey, you the alpha dog. I'm trying to be the alpha dog on this side of things. Let's work together. And like, I'm compete for you just like you're going to compete for me. And I think that is what they have been missing from that standpoint of that cohesive offense, defense, special teams, everybody together. It's not offense is a team, defense is a team, special teams is a team. I think that is bridging the gap, even though that jawing may seem confrontational to some. Nah, that was
Definitely
all in
not.
love. That was all in love, man. And that was just saying, hey, we're in this thing together.
That's great. I love to see it because, like I said, you want that swagger in a quarterback. We haven't had
Right.
it, that tough guy mentality since McNair. I mean, am I wrong? Have you felt this type of way as an ex-Titan and probably a Titans fan? You're always down there. You're always with the
Yeah.
Titans, talking about them as well. So, do you think that Cam Ward has that factor compared to other quarterbacks, or from that dimension? Did Ryan
Yeah.
Tannehill have it? Will Levis obviously didn't. Mettenberger. We went through so many of them. Kerry Collins, Steve McNair, Billy Volek, so on and so forth. But I think we finally found that Steve McNair tough guy. I'm going to go win this football game for you. Do you feel the same way?
I think they all have talents in different capacities. Obviously, they got different strengths, and Mariota had his strengths, and I thought he was maybe underutilized at times. They try to fit him into a box as well, knowing that wasn't necessarily his skill set. I think some quarterbacks are similar. And Kerry Collins obviously was successful here. His short stint here. You saw Tannehill have some success
Yeah.
here, but they came as veterans already
Mhm.
established, already had a career, and they were just able to extend their careers a little bit further by being here. But some of the young quarterbacks that you talked about, Mettenberg and Mariota and Levis, I feel like for those gentlemen, they've all come in here and not that they lack confidence, but have always been tried to fit into a particular box, and they try to make them be this whatever type of quarterback, what it is. And I never really felt like they found their complete footing to be the best version of themselves. Whereas Cam, seemingly right now, I play the games, is he's building around his already skill sets and trying to elevate the game. So he has confidence in himself already, and he's just here I am. Not that you're not going to change me, but he's to that point where he's like, I'm gonna be who I am. I'm gonna try to get better, but I'm gonna be who I am. And I think that confidence, whether you how you think about it or look at it, view it as an outsider looking in, I think that is enduring to me, because I feel like the other guys I mentioned, some young guys, there's a lot of uncertainty. I don't think they lack confidence in their ability, but they may had uncertainty in what the expectation was or what they should be doing or their success, how it was evaluated. And there was some times where you felt like even last year where you can see Levis seemingly lose confidence from time to
Yeah.
time. So I don't think now, again, it's early. I don't think Cam has that same kind of mindset.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. Moving along to the same side of the ball, and especially a room that you're familiar with as well. The 5 a.m. crew, which is everyone's talking about with Restrepo, DK, Io Manor, the rookies, and then you have tight end Gunnar Helm, and obviously Cam Hort. Those guys are looking to be like the future of the Tennessee Titans offense. These guys are getting in at 5 a.m. Cam Ward's instructing these guys, how the day is going to go, going through the playbook. I mean, who's been popping out to you and been the most impressive to you out of that whole group so far?
Well, Lee, what's the little receiver's name?
Restrepo.
Yeah, I like him. I think in this day and age of move the chains and quarterback safety nets, whether it's Kelsey, whomever, right? Like, where that's my guy. I think a guy like him could be valuable to this offense. But you got Lockett and a couple of people like that. But you look at people like him in that stature and the way they move, their bodies move, they can have a pretty good career in National Football League, being able to create separation, work little gaps, work seams of a defense and things of that nature. So I've kind of been keeping my eye on him anyway, just because I want to see how he moves. And I'm looking forward to training camp. I actually get a chance to go out there a few times and just kind of watch him, watch one-on-ones, watch 7-on-7, and see how his body moves, how he competes with some veterans, how he competes with guys who study film and watch formation reads and all that kind of stuff, and how you adjust. And I think right now he's a guy I kind of got my eye on. The receiver room and tight end room this year is going to be pretty competitive, and not that it hasn't been in the past, but this year to make this roster, you got to have a pretty good training camp. I mean, even some of the free agents, as we're mentioning, free agents and things, and guys that were drafted late this year, I can see them on the roster very easily, and I think that's going to be interesting to see who kind of rises, what cream rises to the top in training camp and in the preseason, because guys are fighting for this about really legitimately 8, maybe 9 guys in that locker room fighting. This is just receivers. That's not counting tight ends. That's fighting for 5, maybe 6 roster spots.
That was my
So
next question. That was my next
it's
question
gonna,
to you. Do you think they would carry 6 to 7, or they would keep it to the 5 to 6?
well, it depends on the running back situation too. You got two very good running backs that you know are going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Then what's after that? You got to also think about your special teams value. Are
Mm-hmm.
those receivers able to moonlight as special teamers? Because that's going that fifth, sixth, and maybe seven guy. If you're saying you go to seven, you're going to have to be able to be dual threat. You're going to have to be able to run down on kickoffs, run down on punt, or something to be able to maintain too. So you can't just be a wide receiver. So that guy, that fifth, sixth, maybe seven guy that you mentioned, they're going to have value. So it's a numbers game. So, you still got to think about the tight ends. You still got 3-4 tight ends that are competing for 3, maybe 4 spots. Who knows? Depends again, special teams being a value. How many running backs do you keep? Right now, we know they got 2 quarterbacks, but did they keep 3, maybe 4, put one on practice squad, keep a third? Like there's going to be a balancing act on that far end of the roster. I think also one thing, if they learned anything over the last year or two, is the amount of depth you have at offensive line is pretty crucial, because they had so many people coming in and out that lineup the last few years. There's a few people that were there for pretty much the extent of the season, but having depth on offensive line is crucial as well. So, I'm interested to see how it pans out. There's some opportunities to make this roster, but if you make it, it was competitive, because there's a lot of guys that are very capable of being on the roster.
Yeah, the way they put this Borgonzi way they put this whole entire roster together for training camp. Like you said, there's guys that are going to be battling for spots, and we haven't seen that in the likes of this Titans regime in the last couple of years, since the Derrick Henry, Taylor Lewan, that whole era left,
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Byard, all those guys left. So for me, for that room, I have, like, how would you do it? Would you go 3 vets? If we keep 6 on there, would you go 3 vets, 3 rookies? How do you do that to a rookie quarterback? It's a new offense for all 3 rookies. It's a new offense for the rookie quarterback. Do you want that veteran presence in there? Like, you have Calvin, you have, Tyler Lockett, you have Jefferson, and then you go the 3 rookies, Restrepo, his safety net, you have DK, and you have Ion Manor. That leaves Treylon Burks out, and some other guys. So that's where I'm going with the 6 wide receivers here, because how do you do that to a young quarterback?
Age or experience is one thing. I think ability is another. So I think you kind of look at it like that as well. I think one thing you can never replace in any of this is experience. I think that's why you keep veterans. You need that calming presence, guys who have been there, done that, guys understand schemes, defenses. They also, I know this is how you drew the play in the dirt, but here's the adjustment we're making in the game time, in the huddle. If he does this, do this, and being on the same accord. That's the experience you get from being a veteran. As a rookie, coach said run 10 yards, square it in. I'm going 10 yards, I'm squaring it in. Eventually you get to the point you can freestyle a little bit, but so I don't get caught up on as much on as how many veterans versus younger guys are in the room, as much as is the quality of the depth and the value of that depth. So guys that we're talking about, Jefferson and all those guys that have been to Super Bowls, have played a lot of football, caught a lot of balls in this game. Yeah, they're always going to be a value. You definitely need veterans, but what you need for your young guys, besides not just receiving, is what can you do besides receiving? And some of that is, I need you to come block, dig out the safety. I'm not going to put Tyler Lockett in there to go block a 225-pound or 230-pound safety or a 250-pound linebacker. What can you do? Can you do that? I need a guy that can go in the red zone, catch the ball. Oh, I also need a guy who can run down on punt team on a gunner and be disruptive, make plays. Also be an L2 or L5 on kickoff and get down to the ball carrier. All those type of things. That's where you're looking for, regardless if you keep the 3 veterans in your top of your list. After that, it becomes the value and other things and what can they add to it. So I would tell young guys all the time, man, just receiving is part of it. But the way you get on the NFL roster, whether it's here or another, is what do you do away from there? Studying your special team plays as much as you're studying your offensive plays, because the bulk of your opportunities are coming on special teams, especially early on when we're trying to get ready for a season and the veterans are getting the bulk of the reps because they're getting ready for a season. The guys they kind of know are going to be there. And then you got to make decisions on some other guys, and that's when your time to shine. But do it all, because you just never know what's going to separate you from the guy to your left and your right.
And that's exactly what you did. You were special teams. You returned the kick to bring us through that playoff run. You were a receiver too, so you were the Swiss Army knife in that era for you to keep yourself on that roster. So you lived it. All the praise to you for obviously explaining everything for you. But going into this, one of the last couple questions I have for you is, who do you see going to take a next step going into year 2, whether it be rookie from last year or just another guy on the team? Who do you see as like another leadership step for the role for this year?
That's a great question. I'm gonna go with the group as opposed to an individual.
Okay.
I think the microscope has been on this particular group for several years now, and it's been can't find a left tackle, can't find a right tackle. What's our center gonna do? What's the guards gonna do? But that offensive line, I feel like some of the moves this offseason have been intriguing. The drafts have been intriguing the last couple of years. You got a couple guys that got a lot of experience last year, especially rookie, and now second year. I think he's being moved over to the right side, I believe. I saw that.
JC Latham. Yep.
Yeah, he's moving back over to the right side, and I think that's where his more comfort zone is anyway. That's where he played in college. So I expect him to have another leap. But I'm excited to see with this offensive line, because if the offensive line gels and produces as it seems on paper, I think the sky's the limit for this offense. And then it becomes about how confident that guy behind center is and the decision making of that person is, and then the success of that offense. Because I think there's a lot of talent on that offense, and I think it's not just Pollard, it's just not just Lockett, it's not just Jefferson, it's not just Ridley. It's a accumulation of talent where from that you can go a million different ways, and I think that's almost a play caller's dream, is because who do you key on? There's some offenses, let's double Kelsey and make somebody else beat us, or something to that nature, right? And when Derrick Henry's here, we stop Derrick Henry, see if everybody else can beat us, that sort of thing. Well, the way they're built right now on paper is you have some go-tos. Don't get me wrong, Pollard and Ridley, they're your go-tos. Don't get me wrong, they're always going to be, but you're also there's a balance in there that you can get some other guys in there that can also make plays and have big nights, and that's going to be fun. And so if that offensive line, go back to your original question, so if that offensive line, that as a group, not just individual, as a group gels and figures this thing out, this offense can be pretty potent.
Especially now with a competent quarterback and a guy that, like I said, has uber confidence in there, and he has it right up in here, and he's confident in making those throws across the middle of the field, as you see in OTAs and in minicamp. And another guy you got to keep an eye on. I'm big on, because I was not a Texas fan, but I've seen a lot of Texas football this year. Is Gunnar Helm. I think he's going to be a huge factor. I think he's going to bump Josh Whalley down the roster a little bit, and you're going to have him and Chig going back and forth for tight end one, and that's just great competition, in my opinion. It just opens up the field that much more.
I love Chig. I think uniquely in this game, how Chig is, his athleticism, his speed. He's getting better, be a better route runner. And I thought he even took a leap in his blocking at the point of attack last year. I think he could be a potentially high productive tight end. So, that Gunner, I think, is very talented too. But Chig's athleticism is similar to what we've had around here, whether it be Delaney or anybody like to that nature, the guys that can run, extend decent. He has that kind of ability, and we've seen it at times. We have seen it at times. I think he's an interesting piece going forward too. But Gunner, I think, is also so. If you got two guys again sprinkled in with a couple of receivers that can move the change and be safety nets, it's going to be a pretty dynamic. But they got to take leaps, right? You got to take a leap to the next level.
And they have to do that, and that's where I say it comes with Cam Ward, because Will Levis and Mason Rudolph and all these other quarterbacks, they brought down the roster. We had you on a couple months ago, and you said you liked Brian Callahan. There was guys running open last year, just the quarterbacks was not seeing the ball. You're seeing guys cut film and cut tape and posting it all over Instagram and Twitter, and they're circling guys wide open. It's just the quarterback's missing it. Now, like I said, Cam Ward has it here. He's going to make those plays, hopefully, and those 7 wins turn to 10 wins or 11 wins, and the Titans are back where they need to be in the top of the AFC South.
Yeah, and not to defend Levis and some of that, you got to think he was under a lot of distress, man. The offensive line was struggling, so sometimes you miss opportunities because You don't want to be scanning the field. You're trying to get rid of the ball because you want to take those hits. And I don't know if you ever been hit by a 300-pounder that runs a 4.5, man. It don't feel good.
No, it doesn't.
So, and you just like anything else, our body takes that memory, right?
Yeah.
And you remember those hits. And after a while, you're just trying to minimize as many times you can get hit. And so, and that's not to say that excuses some of the mistakes that Levis made. And I think he lost some confidence along the way in that as well. But it will make a big difference if you can protect that quarterback.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Moving on to one of my last questions over here before I give you that trivia that I talked to you about before the show. Who is your Titans Mount Rushmore if you had to put it together?
Titans or Titan Oilers?
No, Titans. We'll do Titans.
Oh, gosh. I mean, it's hard to not put the 3 running backs on there. Eddie, Derrick Henry, Chris Johnson. It's hard not to do that. So there, 2,000-yard seasons. He is who he is, man. And so there's 3 right there, right? It's hard.
Yep.
So, biased McNair would have to go in there, and that's. I mean, people would argue me with that because there's been so many great ones here.
There's no arguing with that on my part.
So there's 4. And then the 5th one, man, there's so many guys that are just right there that you can make arguments for. Derek Mason, Keith Byard, Big Jeff, Bruce Matthews, Brad Hopkins, Justin Hartwig, and that's the offensive line. Let's see, Lorenzo Neal. I know he wasn't necessarily
over there too.
I loved him. J.K. Javon Curse, Keith. Other defensive end that came in after Javon, and he wore 93.
Bullock?
I'm trying to,
Keith Bullock was not 2000, I think.
No, not Keith. Defensive end, he wore 93. I'm trying to blank on his name right now, but he came from Arizona. Oh, his name's coming, but he had a great career here. Mike Griff, Blaine Bishop.
Are you talking about Vanden Bosch?
Vanden Bosch,
yes.
Keith Bullock, Blaine Bishop. I mean, that 5th one, Frank Wycheck, like that 5th spot, there's so many people I feel like are deserving to be up there after those 4. Because their careers warranted, they were Pro Bowlers. Samari Rowe, another one. Like there's so many guys that you can put on there as far as my 5th guy. But so if I just put it on guys I played with, that helps it out a little bit. But over the 25 years that we have been in the city, those 4 definitely. Then, man, it's like a pick 'em with that 5th one.
Yeah, no, definitely. Listen, you can't go wrong with those 3 running backs, especially with McNair for sure. So, I mean, I would thoroughly agree with you on your Mount Rushmore. But now, like I said, I want to keep this game, I should say, this trivia game going. Since Sal's not here, we'd like to go back and forth with ex-Titans and try to guess the ex-Titan. So, you're on the show. I picked one of your ex-teammates. So, Sammy, let's start it up. Can you name your ex-teammate over here?
Yeah, that's Kenny Holmes, University of Miami, the U.
That is Kenny Holmes, first round pick in I think 1997, right?
Yep,
21 and a half career sacks for the Tennessee Titans. He was a dog.
Yeah.
Can't you say?
Yeah.
He was on that Super Bowl team as well.
He's a special talent, man. We drafted him in 97,
yep.
Javon in 99, and they were on one side or the other, and they had a lot of talent on that defensive line, man. He's getting after the quarterback. But Kenny Holmes, quiet as kept, is because Javon came in like a wildfire and just changed the game, right? But Kenny was on the other side holding his own as well, doing well. But Javon was just, he was the freak.
A freak.
It is what it is, right? Freak for a reason. So, but Kenny was very consistent, very, very good football player. He was similar to myself as far as the injuries that towards the latter part of his career that probably, took away from some of the luster of his career and things of nature. But he was a very, very good football player, man, and very talented. But yeah, we had a good team, man. We had a good team. I was fortunate to be on that team, man, because there was a lot of good people on there, a lot of good veterans, and a good mix of veterans and young guys. And man, you just had to pay attention, follow the leadership of the veterans who had been there, and just not be the one piece that messed things up. And man, you saw what happened. We won a lot of football games for a few years there.
Yeah, and that's exactly one of the reasons why when I was 9 years old, you guys drew me into that, especially,
Yeah,
the whole era of that, that logo coming over to Nashville. And then obviously you guys, Eddie, yourself, Frank Wycheck, Mason, all those guys, George, that's what drew us as Titan fans. And that's what
yeah,
needs to happen more now. Now that Cam Ward is here, we need young fans like my sons and everyone else to start being Titan fans. I know that it's not a big market, but not yet, because now Amy's got the big stadium. Hopefully that comes. It's more of a tourist city now, but hopefully now it's going to be more of a big market. You're going to have, a Super Bowl there. You're going to have WrestleManias. You're going to have, country concerts, everything. So hopefully NCAA tournaments. Now, everyone's going to start
yeah,
talking about Nashville, hopefully. So that's we need the fandom to grow more and more and more.
yeah,
So
yeah. And winning helps.
winning definitely cures.
Because you remember the Kansas City fan base was dormant for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then they go to Super Bowl, win it, and Mahomes mania started. And now look, everybody's Chiefs fans.
Yep.
Nobody was talking about them years ago. It was the Patriots and the Steelers
Colts.
and Cowboys.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. Now look, and the Packers, of course, they're always going to be Packers fans and Bears fans. But now look, it's Chiefs fans everywhere. Oh, I'm a Chiefs fan. You weren't a Chiefs fan until they started winning.
The bandwagon. That's exactly what it is.
But winning cures, man. If you get a consistent winner, you go to a few championships, maybe win one or two. Because right now Philly's hot, right? A lot of Philly fans are coming out. So just got to win some football games and get opportunity. And once you do that, man, sky's the limit. In this town, like you said, it's kind of a touristy town, and that's why we get so many other fans in the stadium right now. But it'd be hard to sell your tickets if your team is winning too. So
absolutely, and that's why hopefully Cam Ward brings that dimension to the Tennessee Titans. So
yeah,
Kevin, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate you taking the time out, coming back on the show. Definitely going to be in touch again. Obviously, what we talked about before the show, don't want to say anything, but definitely appreciate you coming on the show, and enjoy the rest of your day.
I appreciate y'all, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. That was Kevin Dyson, the Music City Miracle Man. I'm sure you guys liked us bringing guests on every week. We had Kayla on. We have obviously Kevin Dyson this week. So just please, guys, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Sick Podcast Talking Titans. Just if you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our X account as well, and Instagram. And that's going to do it for us. So Sammy, send us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Talking Titans on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.